Welcome to this edition of the SFG Top Performance Podcast. With me this morning is Kent Watson and Scott Goetz from the Feed Division. And my name is Mark White, grain merchandiser for Smith Fertilizer and Grain. We'll talk just a little bit about the current grain markets. 10 days ago when they came out with the acres report and the stocks report, the acre report was pretty bullish, corn and beans, but the stocks report was somewhat neutral to bearish on the bean side. And yet, and we did drop 25 cents real quick on these old beans, but they continue to claw their way back. And we're almost back where we were prior to the report on the old crop. Locally, new crop beans are 12 plus again, approaching, the 12.10, 12.15 range. Place it gets pretty interesting to maybe lock some in. Corn, the old crop has maintained its strength. The board went over $6 this week. It did not close above $6, but we did break the $6 mark. Hadn't done that since 2013, so we got to go back almost 8 years since we've done that. New crop corn locally, we're in that 470s range, 474 to 478. Again, approaching $5 off the combine for a fall harvest. Not a bad place to start with some sales. But in this whole grain scheme, volatility remains the key word, and probably will right up through pollination this year. The world stocks are on the low side, both corn and beans. Yeah, and the demand is been ramping up, continues to be strong, not just from China, but from our normal trading partners and domestic. Ethanol continues to grind a few more bushels every week as people go back to traveling. And so that's a good sign. The livestock sector in this country is still strong. They're using a lot of corn every week. So that's helping us out also. Weather throughout the Midwest right now, normally we are past the middle of April. The planters ought to be just going full bore throughout the Iowa and the Corn Belt. But a lot of planters are sitting. It's just too darn cool. This ground, if a guy's no-tilling, it's not working to suit people. And so for the time being, they're sitting. That's not going to stay that way very long. I think we get into the latter part of April, we're going to go regardless. But that's holding up planting. So that's giving the trade a little something to talk about. The other thing is the dry, warm weather down in Brazil. They're harvesting the last part of their first crop corn. The safrinha corn, the second crop corn, is just coming into the developmental stage. And so this dry weather, warm weather is having an impact down there. And they keep putting the rain off. The last 2 weeks, they said next week. And so they've done that again this week. And it appears any substantial rain is at least a week to 10 days away. At some point, that's going to reduce that crop to where they won't get it back. And then that'll be beneficial for our corn, both the end of the old crop, but particularly on the new crop side. So again, I think it will pay to keep an eye on these markets. Don't be afraid to pick up the phone and call one of us. Give me a call here at the Knoxville office, and we'll talk about some forward contracting and why it looks to be the time to do that. If a guy can take some grain right off the combine and sell it for a nice profit, there's never anything wrong with that. And if that happens to be the worst price you get, hey, that's great. You build into the average as you go forward into harvest. I think at this point we'll move on to Kent, and he'll give us an update on some creep feed and some things that are going on in the feed division.
Thanks, Mark. Right now, down here at Albia, I'm working on combining some mineral orders together. Right now, there's some pretty significant volume discounts, and I'm going to try to take advantage of that. So if any of you still have need some mineral for this spring or this summer, please give us a call. We've got some pretty attractive prices if I can get these orders combined. But we have our creep feed prices locked in. Normally, a little different this year because normally when we contract a creep feed, it's good from now until the end of the year. But like as Mark was saying earlier, that with all this volatility taking place in the commodities, our suppliers have not been able to lock their ingredients in past September. So right now we can lock in our and book our creep feed through the end of September. After that point, we'll have to probably recontract, and who knows what the price may or may not be at that point in time. But that's just something that we need to be sure that you're aware of. So you have questions, please let us know and discuss it with your feed people. So also, this time of year, it's turnout time, and with that, breeding season is coming right behind it. And so, normally we talk about the cows and making sure they have adequate nutrition, and which is justifiably so. But we also need to, take a look at these bulls. You got a significant investment in these bulls, not only just the price of them, but long-term effect that's going to have on your cow herd. And even though they might be in good condition, they need to be probably getting good quality trace minerals and vitamins on a daily basis to ensure maximum fertility. And one of the ways that maybe you can do that is possibly feeding some of these Crystallix feed tubs. You could put them out in your lot or pasture where these bulls are. They have all the essential nutrients in these tubs, and also it's a good opportunity maybe to get a little extra protein into them to help them utilize these forages. But we have talked in the past about if you want to ensure that you're getting these nutrients into these animals on a daily basis, these palatable molasses-based tubs are an excellent way. It encourages intake, and so they're able to get those trace minerals and vitamins on a daily basis. One other maybe benefit is when you spread those tubs out, it sort of disperses the animals around. And maybe not up at the feed bunk competing against each other and beating each other up and possibly injuring themselves as well. So, we've got these genetically superior animals now, and we want to ensure that we're providing support to help them. So that's all I have, Mark.
Well, thanks, Kent. Scott, you're up there in an area that's probably seeing a few more planters running. You've been a little more dry than the rest of us. What else is going on in the Milo area?
Yeah, Mark, there are some planters rolling around up here a little bit. Grass is greening up. It's not growing very fast, but it is getting green. Flies are coming out, so I thought I'd talk a little bit about what we have for fly controls at SFG. One of the products that we have is Insectrin X. It's a multi-species spray for flies and ticks. It's a very safe to use product. You just mix it with oil or water, and you can spray it or pour it on the livestock, whatever livestock you have. It can also be used around the home and the yard. You can spray it in the barns and the pens to get rid of flies and mosquitoes and whatever bugs you have in there. You can also mix this with oil and use it in a back rubber if you use back rubbers. Another product we have is a Prozap back rubber and pour-on. It's an oil-based, ready-to-use product. It's for flies and ticks. Due to it being oil-based, it should probably only be used on cattle or hogs. It can be used in back rubbers and face rubbers, or it can be poured directly down their backs. There is a residual effect from both of these products, so just apply them as they're needed. One of these two products in combination with a fly control mineral should help you control your fly population to an acceptable level, of which they say anything less than 200 flies per cow is acceptable. One big thing with fly control minerals is to make sure that you always have mineral out to them. If they go for a week without mineral, you've just created places for the flies to hatch, making more flies. Whatever your plan is, just remember you're going to always have flies. The key is just to try to control how many of them that you have. Along with flies comes the threat of pink eye. For those of you who are already doctor with a dart gun, you will be happy to know that Milo has just received an order of darts. For those of you new to this, it is a dart which you fill with your own injectable. It's fired from an air-powered gun. Upon impact, a small charge goes off and injects the drug into the animal. The used dart then falls out on the ground, and I suggest you pick them up because they end up in tires quite often. They're very accurate and they have a range up to 40 yards. I have sizes of darts from 3 cc's up to 10 cc's. These will allow you to treat animals without having to bring the whole herd in, and this makes it stress-free for the producer and for the cattle. If you need any darts or if you have any interest in them, feel free to give me a call anytime and I'll discuss them with you. That's all I got for you today, Mark.
Well, thanks, Scott. Hey, we're into the time of year when we get busy in the fields and 6 other things, livestock, but don't forget about your yard around your house. And I'll be honest, when I was farming full time, the yard was just a nuisance. That's something we had to take care of. You got to mow it. You sure didn't want to fertilize it because then you got to mow it more. But now I've found if you take care of your yard, it really looks nice and it's an asset to your house, and it makes the wife a lot happier, even if she's the one doing the mowing. But we carry a full line of yard fertilizer at all of our locations. We also carry items for several chemicals that you might use in the yard or ditches, things like that. We've got some 2,4-Ds, some mecamine, some things like that. Toradon, if you're cutting stumps or cutting things off, you need put a little Toradon on that stump so it doesn't grow back. So check in at any of our locations and look at their display of items. That'll wrap it up for this edition of SFG Top Performance. I'll remind you that you can always go to our website. There'll be a weekly blog written by the feed, grain, and agronomy departments. So useful information. We also have 7 locations that have grain facilities, and those bids are posted every afternoon for those 7 locations. So feel free to pop in there and see what we're paying and some information at the same time. Thanks for joining us.